Hello students, in this session we will start our third chapter, chapter 3, and here we will start with the first topic here, okay? So quantitative and qualitative methods. So this is your paper 1 and chapter 3, topic 1, okay? So we have covered completely the chapter 1 and chapter 2. I'm expecting that you will not have any doubt over there. So we discussed about emergence of sociology, scope of sociology, sociology and common sense and comparison with other subjects also we have seen. And then we have talked about sociology as science. We have discussed about the problem of objectivity and value neutrality. We have seen positivist methods and we have seen non-positivism also. Okay, and major theoretical strands also we have covered. So in this session, we will be starting with quantitative and qualitative methods. And this is actually a continuation of positivism and non-positivism. So when we talk about quantitative, it is positivist method. When we talk about qualitative, mainly non-positivist method. So that debate is continuing whether sociology is a science or not. So in case of scientific subject, you need to use quantitative methods, right? You need to develop the quantified image of society. So in that context only we are going to take up this discussion also. So if you remember, we talked about positivism. There we have discussed about use of quantitative methods and developing a quantified image of society by observation, right? You study the empirical reality. So from the stress on studying empirical reality, it's all about developing the quantified image of society, and the data generated will be quantitative in nature. And the method of inquiry will also be quantitative, like induction. On the other hand, when we discussed about non-positivist, we have talked about the qualitative data and qualitative methods. The data will be in the form of description, right? And we have understood that there you are trying to understand the internal realities which cannot be quantified. It is a non-measurable attributes. So in sociology, we are mainly dealing with the internal aspects, the non-measurable attributes. So more qualitative methods will be better in case of studying sociology and especially social sciences. Okay, so all social sciences, it will be better to use qualitative methods like deduction and specifically sociology, okay, that we have discussed already. So now we will see what do you mean by quantitative methods and what do you mean by qualitative methods, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages, and we will also make a comparison, and we will conclude by saying that there is no question of relative superiority or inferiority. Both are complementary, rather than contradictory. So we will make that kind of conclusion, and before that we will see what are the contents that you need to write. So here we will first talk about quantitative. So it is related to science. So we have done with the discussion on science. It is related to positivism. So it is related to external reality. It is related to quantify everything in terms of numbers. So when we talk about quantitative methods, it's all related to dealing in numbers. When we talk about qualitative methods, it's all about dealing in text, because you're trying to understand the internal meanings, motives, emotions. These are non-measurable attributes, right? So these are described. These are not in the nature of text. But here you can understand everything in terms of numbers. For example, you can go and ask about if there is accident, if you are studying about accident death, if you are studying about accident deaths, or if you are studying about suicide, you can collect the details of accident death of over the last 1 year, and you can get the quantified image of that, and then you can interpret and you can make a generalization. Similarly, suicide also, if you see the Durkheim's theory of suicide, it is a classical exhibition of use of quantitative method. And what is that method? It is statistical techniques, which is directly from natural science. It's a classical exhibition of quantitative method in sociology. Okay, so that's how you can use quantitative method. That means you can quantify, you can get in terms of numbers, and based on the numbers you can draw the charts, you can draw the table, and based on that you can interpret and you can make a theory, and based on that you can make predictions also. So that's the advantage in case of quantitative methods. When it comes to qualitative method, it is different. You're dealing with internal meanings that may be changed. It depends on the individuals, it depends on the investigator's bias, okay, that you have already understood when we talked about phenomenology and ethnomethodology. So I'm not getting into that minute details here. I'm just focusing on what is this method, quantitative, what is the qualitative method, and we will also talk about example. Just now I have told you Durkheim's study of suicide is a classical exhibition of quantitative method in sociology. Similarly, when we talk about Weber, he is giving a lot of qualitative methods. Okay, like Verstehen, ideal types, all these are qualitative methods, comparative analysis, all these are qualitative methods which are suggested by sociologists and Weber. These methods are given by Weber, and we will study each of these methods when it comes to Weber, and everything will be asked as a short note also. Okay, so you can expect short notes on these methods. You can get long question also related to comparative analysis, Verstehen, ideal types, etc. All these are asked, in fact, as long questions also. Or simply they will ask you a long question, Weber's methodology. That is all about non-positivist methodology mostly. Okay, his subject matter is related to non-positivism. Method of inquiry is scientific. That's why he is using scientific methods. Okay, but these are actually qualitative methods mostly. I hope you understood, because Verstehen, when we talk about, it is all about comprehension. And why comprehending? Because you are studying the internal meanings. Can you develop in terms of numbers? Can you quantify it? No. So you need to, comprehend. Okay, so that's what we are actually going to discuss now. So quantitative and qualitative methods. Let's move on to the PDF. So with the emergence of sociology as a distinct discipline, the quest for finding its scope and appropriate methodology led to a number of perspectives which argued for the use of different methods. For example, initial two perspectives were positivism and non-positivism. And positivism argued for using quantitative methods, and non-positivism argued for use of qualitative methods. The debate surrounding the use of methods was closely interlinked with the initial debate on the nature of sociology. What was that debate? Whether sociology is a science or not. And connected to that only this debate of positivism, non-positivism, etc. is coming. If it is science, you have to use positivist methods and you have to study external reality. But on the other hand, some other groups suggested you should study the internal reality. From where they got the motivation? From Hegelian speculative philosophy that we have discussed. The social changes or the social phenomena are the result of ideas which are developed in the minds of the individual. So these ideas are in the minds of the individual. These are the internal reality. So social changes or social phenomena are result of internal reality. Every social change, all this Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, everything is because of some ideas which is developed in the minds of individual, and that is changing or transforming society in a desirable direction, or it can be undesirable direction also. So ideas have a key role to play in social change, right? So without studying ideas, you cannot study social change, and which is a subject matter of sociology. So ideas should be studied. That means internal aspect, and you cannot comprehend, you cannot quantify that. So what you need to do, you will get that in terms of description, in terms of text, etc. That's what qualitative methods. Okay. So the debate surrounding the use of methods was closely interlinked with the initial debate on the nature of sociology. The initial emphasis on positivist approach, employing empiricism and inductivism, prefer the use of facts. So positivism, we have discussed about this. Positivism main ideals are basically empiricism, naturalism, inductivism, and they stressed on use of facts, right? Facts, and these are quantifiable in nature. The critique of positivist approach led to the development of non-positivism, which prefer more abstract qualitative methods. Okay, both these methods find their place in the context of different subject matter proposed by positivism and non-positivism. So positivism is focusing on quantitative methods, and later on with the development of non-positivism, more qualitative methods are used in sociology. Okay, now we will move on to quantitative methods and we'll try to understand what is it. Quantitative methods employ systematic scientific investigation of quantitative properties of phenomena. So you'll try to identify the quantitative properties of any social phenomena and you'll try to quantify it in terms of numbers in order to develop models of theories. Okay, and the approach of these methods is to generate a quantified image of the phenomena under study. As I've told you, if you're studying suicide, then you will try to collect the number of people who committed suicide. If you're studying about accident, you try to collect the number of accidents which happened over the last couple of years, like that. Okay, so you try to develop a quantified image in terms of numbers so that you can interpret based on the number, and you can go with the theory building, and then you can predict also. Okay, so if you can make some correlation that this year, every year this much accidents are happening, and most of the accidents are in Jan or Feb or March. If you can find that correlation, you can predict next Jan also this much accidents will happen, or this much suicides will happen, like that. That's what I mean by prediction. Okay, so the process of measurement is central to quantitative method. So there's a first step in case of quantitative method, measurement. How you measure? This is all about data collection. First you need to collect data, right? So process of measurement is central, very important in quantitative methods, because it provides the fundamental connection between empirical observation and the mathematical expression of quantitative relationships. So that's the first step. And then thus the quantitative methods are used to generate quantitative data dealing with numbers. So you get the data which is dealing with numbers, as I've told you. Various techniques used by quantitative methods are surveys, interviews, questionnaires, schedules, etc. So how you get these in terms of numbers? If let's suppose a questionnaire is confined like yes or no, then you can say, you can see, you can or count how many yeses, how many nos. For example, you conduct a study on domestic violence and you will just include are you supposed to domestic violence only, you don't want any description, yes or no. So if you're asking this to, let's say, 1,000 female, and you will get yes or no only, and you will count how many yes and how many no. Let's suppose 700 yes and 300 no. Then based on this you can make interpretations, like you will say that most of the females are subjected to domestic violence, like that. Okay, so you get it in terms of numbers, and further you will make more analysis. You will make correlations also with many other variables. You can connect it to alcoholism, you can connect it to dowry, you can connect it to many other things. Okay, so many other things. So after this, so various techniques, these methods are generally applied for the purpose of collection using sampling. So you cannot collect data from each and every female. You will go for a sampling process. Okay, sampling in detail we will discuss in research methodology. That is actually a third topic. The interpretation of data in these methods, this is actually the second step, interpretation of data. And how it is done? It is done with the help of proper representation of data using modern statistical techniques leading to an objective interpretation. So you use modern statistical techniques so that you get an objective interpretation. So various techniques like drawing tables, graphs, curves, etc., which can be, if you remember, you might have done this in your physics labs, etc. before, right? You will make some observation, you will draw tables, and you will get some sigma n, sigma x, etc. and finally you will conclude. I hope you can recollect those experiments that you have done in your plus 2 and 10th, etc. Okay, so you can make graph, okay, and you can predict also what is going to happen next year based on this graphs and curves, etc. So all these things are actually done by you already in your 10th and plus 2, etc. So correlation methods, nowadays interpretation is highly simplified with the use of computers. Okay, so first we have discussed about process of measurement, that means in terms of numbers, then interpretation using various scientific techniques, okay, and then you will go for theory building. So theory building is considered very important. Finally, theory building in quantitative method is from the method of induction. I have actually underlined all the important points here, so you just need to remember these. You can take note of these underlined words. That should be there in your answer, okay? So which method they prefer? Inductive method they prefer for theory building. In case of non-positivism or qualitative methods, it is deductive approach. So the emphasis is on development of theories based on cause and effect relationship. Wherever you see cause and effect relationship, this is related to science, this is related to positivism, this is related to objectivity, and finally it is related to quantitative methods. In qualitative methods, it is very difficult to establish cause and effect relationship. Although Weber is arguing for establishment of qualitative, cause and effect relationship, but it is very difficult in case of human beings, in case of, qualitative methods. The final testing of the theory is also done with the use of data. So all these are the elements. I'll tell you again, these are the elements. Like first you will, the measurement of data, that is central to this method. So you will get that data in terms of numbers. Quantified image you'll get in terms of numbers. Then interpretation of data, that is done by using some scientific techniques, okay, drawing graphs, charts, tables, curves, etc. Okay, and then you go for theory building by induction process. That means the normal procedure which is adopted in case of science, and then you go for prediction or you go for testing. Okay, so these are very important. So theory building, when we talk about, you need to talk about induction and also establishing cause and effect relationship. Now, what are the advantages? Everything which is important I have underlined. So you can see this, you can understand these are objective. Why? Because you're dealing with number and it is replicable, and reliability and validity could be tested. Okay, so it is more reliable and valid. That means you can replicate it. Okay, so these methods are considered objective as generalization is based on facts. Yes. These methods are considered to be scientific, especially in the light of natural sciences, because you're dealing with numbers, you're using inductive approach, you're going for theory building, so this is considered as scientific. All the elements of science are actually incorporated. Quantitative methods present an advantage of easy measurement as experts are not required for collection of data. Correct, no? Experts are not required here, because if you are a researcher and you need to study about domestic violence, as I've told you, you can give the questionnaire to some assistant and you can send that assistant to collect data from people, because he is not getting complete data. He is only asking yes or no, because you need to get it in terms of numbers. You are not collecting the description properly. Complete description you are not getting. Okay, so at the maximum you will go for different variables. Is it because of alcoholism? Is it because of dowry? Is it because of any other reason? That is what the different variables you can incorporate. But if you remember in yesterday's session when we discussed about non-positivism, especially in ethnomethodology, we have discussed about a method of account where an investigator have to directly go to the people and ask about incident. So the people will tell different stories to understand that particular situation, and investigator, after collecting different stories from different people, have to take the relevant material from that. So a lot of subjectivity is involved, so a properly trained investigator is required. Here you can send anyone, so it is very easy to collect data. It is not a big problem. Okay, so that's what I mean by that. These methods can be used for huge population also, because you are getting only yes or no. Okay, you can quantify everything in numbers. Even 1 lakh population also you can cover if you wish. Okay, now then because you can put online voting at the situation, so population, any number of population can be covered. But is that possible in case of qualitative research? No. Okay, there is an obvious limitation in qualitative research that is suitable for micro phenomena. Okay. It is easy to check reliability and validity of the results generated. The results can be regenerated. Okay. Now, what are the limitations? What are the disadvantages? These methods cannot be applied for studying the social phenomena which are based on non-measurable attributes, right? Like the internal aspects, like the meanings, motives, etc. You cannot quantify that. So those phenomena cannot be studied by using this method. These methods are difficult to apply in situations where number of variables are very high. Okay, so if it is related to one variable, is it domestic violence and maybe connected to alcoholism, you can just ask yes or no. If it is multiple variables you are incorporating over there, domestic violence, one is related to alcoholism, one is related to dowry, one is related to some other problem, mental problem, or financial problems, or different other problems, then more the variable, more complicated will be the analysis. Okay, these methods sometimes the variables are identified incorrectly. It is actually connected to this. Now, quantitative methods rely on data collected from both primary and secondary. Primary means directly I am asking. Secondary means I am asking to the relatives, friends of that concerned person. For example, again, domestic violence study, I am studying on domestic violence. So I can ask to those female who are subjected to this particular issue. That is a primary understanding. I can also ask you those females who are subjected to this, their relatives. So their relatives also will give you some different picture. That is secondary information. Okay, that is secondary information. That is what I mean by secondary sources. So the reliability of secondary sources is not sure. You cannot trust, or you cannot completely believe the information given by the secondary sources. Okay, primary sources, it's fine, even though that also will be biased. Even if a woman is subjected to a domestic violence, she may not say that. Even if there is no domestic violence, she may claim that there is a domestic violence also. Okay, so bias will be there in case of primary also, because we are dealing with human beings. Secondary, more probabilities that it may be wrong. Okay, you cannot check the authenticity of the secondary information at any point of time. It will be so difficult. So that's what you have actually written here. Okay, then these methods are hard to apply in historical phenomena as the data may not be available. You don't want to write down this, I'll send you the PDF of these lectures. Okay, so if you or you can join the Telegram channel, you will get all the details over there. If you have any doubts, you can get in touch with me. That's my Instagram ID. Join the Telegram channel here. Okay, or if you want to talk to me directly, you can call me. This is my number, 9790 892 697 or 98955 77 775. Okay, you can WhatsApp or Telegram me. If you're writing answers, you can send that to me. If you wish to attend the classes with me, you can attend the regular evening or live classes or online recorded classes that are available. You can write the test series also with me. Okay, I'll get it evaluated and we'll have a separate session, live session on Zoom for that. Okay, so apart from this, quantitative methods are accused of generating partial view of reality. Okay, so partial view of reality. These methods are also accused for involving subjectivity of the investigator, as the decision with respect to which data to collect is lying with the investigator. Okay, see here also this is quantitative method, and from where subjectivity can come here. Subjectivity can come here with respect to which method you use and how you use it, which data you collect, how you collect the data. For example, when we talk of Emile Durkheim, his theory of suicide, it's a classical exhibition of use of statistical techniques or quantitative techniques in sociology, right? The method of natural science in sociology. But he often criticized, or it is accused, that the theory was there in his mind even before he took up the analysis. Even before he collected data from police stations, the theory or the conclusion was there in his mind, and he took those data which suit his convenience. Exactly the same thing can happen in normal scenario also, right? You may focus something in your mind, or you may fix something in your mind. For example, if you're conducting a study on domestic violence, you fix that it is because of alcoholism, and then you try to collect data, and you will try to collect data from those wives who's suffering this problem of alcoholism from their husbands. Okay, and you will be in a position to prove that. So you will collect data from your known sources, and you will collect data from a very small sample size, and it will suit your convenience. So basically what I'm saying is, it all depends on the investigator, the bias or the subjectivity of the investigator. So what type of data to be collected, from whom it should be collected, what should be the size of the sample size, everything actually depends on the bias or subjectivity of the investigator. So even in these methods also, it can be subjective. Okay, now we will move to qualitative methods. So when we discuss about qualitative methods, this is for non-measurable attributes like internal meanings, motives, emotions, etc. Okay, so there it was external reality, so you quantify it. Here internal meanings, so you will try to describe it. Okay, this will be in the form of description, this will be in the form of text, not numbers. You cannot quantify it. So they refer to the examination, analysis and interpretation of observation for the purpose of discovering underlying meanings, okay, and pattern of relationship. Pattern of relationship means the interrelationship between various elements in society. Okay, the qualitative methods in sociology emerge in reaction to the excessive emphasis on quantitative methods used by the positivist research. So positivist is giving excessive emphasis on quantitative methods, and thereby it is actually a partial understanding of society. Why? If you're focusing on quantitative methods, you can only get those data which are external and quantifiable in terms of numbers. What about internal aspect? You are ignoring. That means partial understanding. So qualitative methods prefer more internal aspects. Okay, so these methods are often used to gain better understanding of non-measurable sociological attributes like meaning, sentiments, emotions, etc. The data generated is qualitative in nature. The qualitative data is in the form of text and not numbers. Okay, I have underlined all these important points. It is usually based on description of variables, various techniques like observation, words to hand, narration. All these we will discuss when we discuss about Weber. Okay, all this can be asked as separate question. The data thus generated is in the abstract form. Secondary sources are also used to collect qualitative information. So after collection of data, then interpretation of data. So interpretation of data in these methods are done in an analytical way using deduction. Okay, so here there is minimal use of methods. A pure non-positivist, no methods at all. We have discussed in case of phenomenology, ethnomethodology, when we discussed about Alfred Schutz, Berger Luckman, Harold Garfinkel. They don't use methods. They don't prefer to use methods. Some minimal methods are there when it comes to Weber. They are actually interactionist, deviation from positivism to non-positivism. Okay, so they prefer minimal use of methods and often reject the formulation of theories. Although initial non-positivists like Weber, Mead, they try to make theories and they develop theories, but later non-positivists, like as I have told you now, phenomenologists and ethnomethodologists, they rejected the possibility of theory. And the testing is done through reasoning, okay, because it's all about understanding and interpretation, no theory building, no prediction, no testing. Testing is all about reasoning. Now, what are the advantages of qualitative data? They are considered significant in the light of generating complete understanding of reality. Earlier it was partial, now it is complete understanding. In general, these methods are considered cheap if the purpose of research is confined. See, if the purpose of research is confined, this method is cheap because investigator can directly go and can have the understanding. But if it is not confined, then it is going to be expensive because you need to employ method of accounts, you need to talk to a lot of people, you need to develop a lot of data, a lot of stories you need to hear, and for that a lot of expenses will be there. So these methods are helpful in finding solutions to the problem in a more pragmatic way. Now, disadvantages. What are the disadvantages? Requirement of experts for its implementation, right? See, earlier in quantitative method, you don't want expert. Even you can send your assistant, okay? Because you are getting only yes or no, right? You are sending yes or no. You are asking for people whether you are subjected to alcoholism, whether you are subjected to domestic violence, yes or no. That's it. But in case of qualitative approach, you will be getting the description. I've told you, you basically use the method of accounts. So you collect all the stories that people tell, and then you need to codify that. Okay. So here you don't want an expert. You can collect data simply yes or no, and finally you can even do that with your assistant also. So it can save your time. You don't want expert for that, and then you can make a correlation and you can make theory based on that. Okay, so difficulty in checking the reliability and validity. Here it is very difficult to check it. Earlier it is very easy. It is replicable. Here it is not replicable. There it is regenerated. Here regeneration is not possible. Different people will behave differently, different situation. Okay, problem of subjective bias here. Earlier also, although objectivity is there, but there can be subjective bias. More suitable for micro phenomena. Okay, a sample size increasing, the application of this method become difficult and costly. I have told you this point before. The theoretical possibility is very limited in qualitative research, that we know already. So let's make a comparison between this, and if you know this, then you can write your answer. So here quantitative uses more numbers and statistics. Here it is text. Okay, many observation here, few observations, a little information because you get yes or no like that only. Here more information, you get the detailed individual accounts, and then ethnomethodologist or the non-positivist will take relevant materials from that. So more informations are there. Makes inferences from specific to general. So you study specific and you make theory. That's what generalization. Here not concerned about that theory building or inference. Replicable analysis. Here there is no replication, it's all about understanding and interpretation only. Formalized method, less formalized method. Now we will move on to conclusion. In conclusion, we say both are complementary rather than contradictory. Okay, so although both quantitative and qualitative methods are distinct and based on opposite theoretical assumptions, but while comparing both, the relationship between the relationship between the two is understood to be complementary rather than contradictory. You can copy paste exactly the same sentence in your answer. Okay. So nowadays both are used for the purpose of sociological research depending on the requirements. Now sociologists use both quantitative as well as qualitative, depends on the requirement. Purpose of study is more important. How easily you can conduct the investigation is more important. If qualitative method is suitable, you do that. If quantitative is suitable, you go with that. Okay. For example, quantitative methods are frequently used to test the understanding generated by qualitative methods. Similarly, qualitative methods can be used to understand meanings of data generated by quantitative methods. Quite often, researchers use both the methods in such a way that it is virtually impossible to separate. Okay, so I hope you understood. So it's all about, quantitative is dealing with numbers, this is dealing with text descriptions. Okay, so qualitative is better in sociology, quantitative is better in natural sciences. Okay, so I hope you understood. If you have any doubt, you feel free to get in touch with me. That's my Instagram ID, or you can call me or WhatsApp me in my number. Okay, so see you guys. Thank you. So that's about the session. I hope you understood everything that we have discussed today. If you have any doubt in any of the videos that we have discussed so far, you can get in touch with me here. That's my Instagram ID. Okay, or you can join the Telegram channel. You will get all my videos over there. Everything is there. Or you can see here, this is a Telegram channel, or this is the Instagram ID. These two are my Facebook page. You can get in touch with me in any of this. If you want to learn economy with me or history with me or general studies, any subjects, you can, if you need regular classes, you can get in touch with me, or the online classes are available with StudyIQ. You will get all those classes. Still, you will get my YouTube videos in this Telegram channel. Okay. So I hope you understood everything that we have discussed. So see you guys. Thank you.